welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, my name is Paige. I am a published author ×3 and I'm here to talk about all things writing. Little PSA, my cats are in here with me, so if you can hear them destroying everything I own, I sincerely apologize. So in today's video, we are going to be discussing my top 5 writing tips that I have discovered as someone who has been writing for a very long time. Now, I know I am very impatient when I'm watching YouTube videos, so we are just gonna jump right into it. So tip number 1 is going to be quantity over quality before you get to quality over quantity. You might be thinking, well, what do you mean? I want my work to be quality. I want my work to be good. I want people to like it. However, when you are starting out, I have found it is extremely helpful to get just every single thought you have down on a page. It can be terrible. It can be absolutely the worst thing that has ever been written on the face of the earth. Write it down. And I will show you a little example in just a moment, but essentially what I'm going to tell you is that having that quantity of words is really good for you because it is something that you can edit, you can add on to, you can take things away. But if you are so hyper-focused on quality before you have that quantity of words, you might be losing out on ideas and things that otherwise, if you are just putting everything down on the paper, you wouldn't. When I'm writing, I often cut things out, and that is okay because at least I have the option to take that work and make it better. It's better to say that you took every idea that you had in your head and went through it and looked through every possibility and did everything you could to make that work your best before trying to make the work perfect at the first go. Because I have found that I failed tremendously and I get burnt out very easily if I try to go for quality over quantity first. So here is our example of quality versus quantity. So of course this bottom is going to be quality and this first is going to be quantity. So the first we have the rock sat by the river, the sun gleamed off the water, the day was warm and the air was still, fish leapt from the moving water. So you can see that there is quite a bit more content there. The sentences are incredibly simple, very, very simple, very straightforward. But what you can do is you can add anything you want to those sentences. Maybe you want to say, add some adjectives, the blank rock sat by the blank river, the sun gleamed off the water. You can add anything you want to that. You can add much more description, anything you want, but you have all of these ideas. You have this idea, the notion of the rock, you have the sun on the water, you have a description of the temperature, you have a description of the air, you have these, I guess you'd call the fish characters in this example. But if you look down at the quality sentence, a stoic stone stood quietly by the rushing water, solitude its only companion. We only have the stone and the water in comparison to everything that we have up here, because if you get so hyper-fixated on just one sentence, you don't have as many ideas as maybe you would have when you were just getting everything down immediately. You also might be like, oh, this word isn't the right word. I'm gonna have to move that. Or, oh, I don't really like this descriptor. Or, oh, I'm not sure if this is the perfect way to structure that sentence. And you become so focused on just fixing that one sentence that you're not actually getting your ideas out on the paper. Hopefully that example helped you understand what I mean more by quantity over quality first. So we are now going to move into tip 2. This second tip is something that really helps me on the daily, and it may be a little bit contradictory to tip 3, but bear with me here. So my second tip is to write when you feel something. What I mean by this is if you are having a heavy emotion or some sort of feeling out of the ordinary, I try to write during that time because then you can get everything down on the paper, everything that you are feeling, and you can use that emotion or that feeling later on in your writing, or maybe even what you're writing right now is something that is important or can be used in a novel or poem that you are working on currently. I find that this tip helps me a lot when I'm writing my poetry because a lot of my poetry is emotion-based or based on just life experience, but it can also be used towards a novel, and I do this often where my own feelings and emotions can be implemented into a character or a situation, and it really helps just bring the scene to life and make it feel more real because you are basing it off of your own experience. Now for the third tip, which is, again, as I said, a little tiny bit contradictory to tip number 2, but tip number 3 is consistency. Writing surrounding emotion is very important. It helps me a lot as an author, but consistency is something that unfortunately you cannot escape. You could be the fastest writer in the world, but if you're only taking 1 day a month to write something, ultimately you're not going to get as far as someone who is taking the time daily, weekly, whatever that goal is for you, to sit down and actually work on a project. I sometimes jump back and forth between being more of a fast-paced writer and a slow-paced writer, but as long as you are sitting down, I mean, even if you have a day job, if you like have school, whatever, 5 minutes here and there, as long as you are putting words down on the page, as long as you are taking the time out of your day to work on your book, your poetry collection, whatever that may be, you have to stay consistent and you have to show up for yourself. Otherwise, you're not going to get there. And of course, we all want to be able to get there for ourselves. There's a reason we choose to write books, after all. If you keep up with my videos, you know I have been working on the same novel since about 7th grade. I am now 20 years old, but the thing is, I keep showing up and I just keep plugging along, and this book is coming together so much better than I ever could have hoped. So just keep showing up for yourself, really, is what I can say. Stay consistent and be there for yourself. Moving on to tip number 4. What do I have to say about this one? But sometimes you have to learn as you go. Oftentimes, as writers, we want to be handed the answers on a silver platter. We want to be able to go to someone and say, hey, how do I do this? And immediately know how to do it based on someone else's experience. But ultimately what it comes down to is learning for yourself what works and what doesn't work. It's great to hear someone say, oh, this is what helped me, but when someone is preaching like, oh, it helped me, it can help you too. Not always. Tips are great, you know, helping someone lean in the right direction, but ultimately you do have to try things. You have to figure out what works for you personally. I know me, I'm more of a mood writer, but I do still try to make the time for myself. I know that schedules aren't really my thing, so I work it in wherever I can, and that has really helped me to be able to hold myself accountable, because I'm not pressuring myself to stick to one time or one place to do my writing. I'm allowing myself to be flexible. This also applies to plot lines as well with learning as you go. I am someone who would love to be a 100% plotter. I do a decent amount of plotting, but I am also a partial pantser. So I think for me personally, this tip is very applicable and means to your story as well, because as much as we all want to know exactly what is going to happen in this story as we are writing it, sometimes you do have to make these tweaks to your story. You have to write these characters and learn about these characters and how that should actually shape your novel. I think they really, in a way, you have to learn about these people that you have made up, because as much as they are yours, they are also their own person. So that has been very important for me to step back and say, hey, I don't need to have all the answers right now. I should have a decent idea at least, but it's okay to start a project and leave yourself some leeway, you know, work with your characters and see where they take you. Sometimes it's okay to do that. It's okay to learn as you go. This last tip, tip number 5, is the most important. This is a universal tip. Everyone should listen to this one. And tip number 5 is don't give up on yourself. I think as a creative person, especially in today's world, it is easy to say, this is too difficult, no one is going to read this, no one's going to like this, and I should just give up. But fortunately for you, if you want to get there, you have to believe in yourself. You have to put your best foot forward and keep going, because the reality is someone is going to read it. Someone is going to love it. You are going to be someone's favorite author someday, but you can't do that if you give up on yourself. It's important to remember why you started, what this dream meant to you, what this story meant to you, what message were you trying to get through, what parts of yourself did you want the world to see. and remember your why, essentially. What did this mean to you, and why did you start in the first place? Obviously you had some reason to want to write a book, so don't give up on yourself. Just keep going. These are all things that I have to remind myself of course, because I'm a human, I'm flawed just like everybody else, but I do think it is important to share them because they are things that helped me and could potentially help someone else. So I hope those 5 tips helped you. That's all I have for the video today. Let me know if you have any questions or comments and I will get right back to you. Otherwise, have a great day, guys. See you next time.